Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results out from Google, third quarter 2025 earnings, and they were really impressive. I want to talk about these. And Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist of Epistrophy Capital Research. We look at the 50 most important companies in technology. I don't have to make the case that Alphabet is one of those companies, but this quarter really shows the huge push into AI and what the results are. Maybe better than some expected. The market was looking for $100 billion in revenues and $2.29 in earnings, and it got more than that. In terms of both revenues and earnings. Indeed, over $100 billion in revenue, showing 16% year-over-year growth. I say those numbers like that make sense. These are just incredible numbers that we've rarely seen never really seen in the history of the world. Just incredible numbers, incredibly profit, incredible free cash flow as well. Indeed, this company is more profitable than ever, even at this scale, $102 billion in revenues, and yet 34% operating profit margins, EBIT margins, if you will. The profit margins of this company, it's just maybe the greatest business in the history of mankind. I don't know what to say of this. It's just incredible. The operating income of $31 billion in the quarter. Yeah, that's more than $2 billion every week in operating profits. What's interesting to me is that there was concern that if people are doing searches and getting answers from AI, I don't mean just going to ChatGPT, but if you're getting an answer instead of getting a link, and Google gets paid for a click on every link, you would think the growth of AI, even on Gemini, even on the Google website, if you will, would be bad news for Alphabet. No, we're seeing actually that their AI overviews, and they say their AI mode drove record query growth, more questions being answered, more clicks onto the Alphabet and Google websites, and indeed new shopping formats as well for their advertisers. So they said they had billions of net new queries. And that they're what they're calling their ad tools, IMAX, is their fastest growing search ad product ever. And they talked about Gemini doing tons of work, 7 billion tokens processed per minute. Tokens are sort of the number of calculations being done by an AI model. And that the Gemini app itself has reached 650 million monthly users. These guys don't give us a lot of the details they used to give us, like clicks, like click growth rates and things like that, but maybe those aren't the numbers to look at anymore. They certainly would make that case. Search is still the main business here, but Google Cloud is now the second largest business at 15% of revenues. And Google subs and devices, and importantly, YouTube right below that. So search is just cranking up 15% on a year-over-year basis to closing in on $60 billion in revenues, 87 billion, I should say, in search. Up 14% on a year-over-year basis, or 15%, and 14% in constant currency. But in any case, real strong growth right there. YouTube ads also just doing great. Podcast has been huge for them. Thank you very much, YouTube. 15% year-over-year growth in revenues for YouTube, and the growth rate really picked up again when they started expanding their focus into podcasts. Things like some of you may be watching this right now on YouTube or on Spotify or listening on iTunes or whatever. Glad to have you. Come on in, the water is warm. But look, the big business here, the big growth story is Google Cloud. Revenues up 34% on a year-over-year basis to $15,157 million. Operating margins at 23.7%. So very big, growing very fast and very profitable. And they say their backlog of $155 million. Think about this. I mean, that's insane. It is $15 million in the quarter, so that's at a run rate of $60 million. And they've got $155 billion, a $60 billion run rate, and they've got $155 billion in backlog that they're just trying to fulfill. That's just incredible. The market liked these numbers, and they should have. The stock's up 6% in after-hours trading, and during the conference call, and indeed the stock's up 61% in the last year. So real turnaround. Google was people were worried about. I was worried about Google a year ago. Should have just been buying the stock hand over fist instead of not at all. But in any case, I don't give investment advice, but this is a good reason why. This company's doing just great. And they're spending a ton in capital expenditures and promising there's a lot more to come. CapEx was up 83% year over year. It was at about $24 billion in CapEx, up 7% just over the last quarter. Again, $24 billion in a 13-week quarter. Those are amazing numbers, incredible expenditures. 60% of that, they said, was in servers, 40% in data centers and networking. So there's a reason I talk so much in this podcast and about networking research. The reason I do so much research into the networking and optical networking space in particular, because there's a lot going on there. We're going to hear a lot more of that. So, and for the full year, they also raised their outlook up to $92 billion for the year. Here's what Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai had to say about the quarter.
I think Gemini allows us to build a more personal, proactive, powerful AI assistant for that moment. And I think having the two surfaces, Search and Gemini, allows us to really serve users across the breadth of their needs. But over time, we will thoughtfully look for opportunities to make the experience better for users. And to the first part, I would broadly say, I do think we've been consistently saying for a while now, this is an expansionary moment, and we are seeing people engage more. And I think when they do that, naturally a portion of that information for users, those journeys are commercial in nature. So I would expect that to play out over time as well.
All right, so there you have it from the CEO, but what's it all mean? What's your big drill on earnings takeaway? What's the one number that tells you a whole lot? Well, first of all, let me ask, please subscribe to this podcast. Please, whether you're listening on a device like or listening to Spotify or iTunes or whatever, or watching us on Spotify or on YouTube or whatever, the more subscriptions we get, the easier it is for us to provide more of these in the future. All right, so your summary. Alphabet Q3 earnings just out. Your essential summary tells you that they had a spectacular quarter, $102 billion in revenues, fantastically profitable, one of the most profitable quarters they've ever had. 16% revenue growth. But I think the most important number here is the business that is the biggest and fastest growing. Not the biggest business. Google still is, the search business is still the biggest. But within all of Alphabet, the Google Cloud business is growing so fast, doing over $15 billion in revenues in the quarter, over $155 billion in backlog. And the most important number you want to take away in these Google results, these Alphabet results, is 34% revenue growth in their cloud business. It's bigger and growing faster, almost the fastest it's ever grown. Super impressive from Alphabet. All right, thanks for checking out Drill Down Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson. Follow us on X at Cory TV, and of course on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube at Drill Down Pod.